Welcome back to the ThermoDiet podcast. I'm your host, Jayton Miller, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Tyler Woodward.
How are we doing today, Jayton?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So today we are doing our weekly month review of topic of the month.
Our monthly topic of the month.
Our monthly
review.
topic of the month review. And let's dive in. So what is your struggle of the month?
I would say getting bored with my movement routine. Working out at home for a while now, starting to get super bored with the routine that I have. So that's been a struggle just to stay motivated. I've been relatively consistent. But yeah, it takes a lot of effort for me to get into it.
When I was working out at home I had a really nice setup for COVID. We had a little jungle gym, so I could do like pull-up bars and whatnot, pull up and dips. And then I had resistance bands. My dad had a Bowflex that went up to 90. So I was really spoiled, but I was still like, dude, I hate working out here. Mm-hmm. And I was just putting on the most violent, angry music and just getting after it. It was the only way I could work out. I was just like miserable.
I just got another addition to the mats that I have in my spare bedroom there. So I'm looking forward to having more room to work on some jiu-jitsu movement. But as far as resistance training, I think that's the area where I'm ready for the office gym to come in so I can change up the routine.
That'll be hype. I'm excited for that as well. My struggle of the month has been getting to BJJ. Also, I've just been so injured. Like my knee has been messed up for 2 weeks. My wrist is it's getting better. I was able to do cartwheels today.
Yeah, it looks like you got some blood sleeping through your pants right there.
Yeah, I think that's actually from Sunday, but I have a lot of laundry I have to do today. So that's also my struggle of the month, just laundry. But yeah, I've just been kind of beat up. And honestly, I was going to the jiu-jitsu on Tuesday. I was like, dude, I might just cancel my membership. And then I had a great roll and I was like, all right. So you go in waves sometimes. Sometimes you need to take a break. Book of the month.
Let's see. Most of the books that I've been reading lately have been geared around work. One of the ones that I'd really recommend for those of you in a leadership position are Reality-Based Leadership and No Ego by Cy Wakeman. Two really good books that I'd highly recommend.
He wrote both of them?
She wrote both of them, yeah. CY and then Wake Man. She has some really good points in there and some interesting perspectives, so I definitely recommend checking those out.
My book of the month, which you've read, I'm a little over halfway through. I'm 250 at 400. Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. That book, it's really good, but it's so dense.
I didn't read all of that book whenever I read it.
Yeah. I'm going to get through it. It's good. It's just it's a textbook in the aspect that you were just you read it and then you're like, all right, well, I got to go back and read that again. And then you might read it a third time and it's just oh, all right, that makes sense. And then you go 2 pages forward and then you have to click back. Heck, there's a lot of in my opinion, it's not a very linear book where it's just you have to kind of review. And even I'm reading a chapter and then I'm damn, I could go back to this other chapter and read it again. Mm-hmm. And it's not a fast reading book either. There's a lot of information on that book.
What's the most significant thing that has stuck out to you in that book so far?
It's interesting to me. He actually mentioned that he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't eat meat. And it's interesting to me how he doesn't talk about food at all. He talks about stress a lot and we know, and he does mention how the glucocorticoids and adrenaline and insulin as well are, nutrient partitioning hormones, but he hasn't really talked about nutrients and oxidative stress and all that thing. He talks a lot about hormones, but doesn't really talk a lot about the cellular level, which I think is interesting.
So more of whole body mechanisms.
Just whole body mechanisms. He talks a lot about the brain, which I think is really interesting. Neuroscience is fascinating. It's so complex. Something I definitely have to continue to dig into. And it's something I've forgotten so much about since college. Just if you don't use it, you definitely lose it a little bit. But he talks a lot about corticotropin releasing hormone, the thyroid, the HPA axis, and all of those hormones. And he also talks a lot about a lot of the confounding variables with a lot of the research. So it's it's really expensive to do research generally. And so a lot of research you'll see is retrospective, which means we'll ask a group of people that got breast cancer, were they stressed? And it's all about stress, the book. Were they stressed when they got it? And retrospectively, really, oh yeah, you know what? I was stressed. But that's not we just have as biased to think that you get sick, there's a reason for it. Versus if you really have to do a prospective study, which means you have no idea who's going to get sick. So you just have to take a huge sample and then then keep track of whether those people were stressed and then who gets, breast cancer per se, and then see. I also think what we were talking about beginner's luck yesterday was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah. The intrinsic versus extrinsic memory.
It was explicit versus implicit.
Oh, okay.
Which, yeah. And I had heard of that, but so like, if I'll go into it, I guess so you have the implicit memory, which is like the memory you don't really think of. Like you think about it implicitly is I think a good way to say it, where it's like you're driving, brushing your teeth. Like you don't have to be like, all right, move hand, left, right, up, down. You just kind of do it. Versus the explicit memory is like, I've got to meet Jayton and Matt at the podcast at 9 a.m. or remember where Jayton lives, like things you have to like really process explicitly. What he said in the book, he was like kind of making a joke, is that if you want to mess someone up, like you get a real life takeaway from this. Let's say you're playing tennis and the person has a gnarly backhand. Ask them how they did that. Like, what was their stance? How are they holding the racket? How much force do they do? Where do they step? And then they will think about that. So the concept is you can translate explicit thoughts to implicit thoughts. So they had done that backhand implicitly, like, right? They weren't thinking about all those things, where the step, where they held it, how much power they stroked with. And if you ask them about it, then they start thinking about it, and then they're going to mess up as a result. So my theory is that that's what beginner's luck is, right? Like you're so overwhelmed by this new game that you're starting. Let's say it's like, I don't know, Pong or tennis, whatever, that you just use all the habits that you've formed over time that have allowed you to be successful in sport, and you just succeed at it because you're using it implicitly. You're overwhelmed to think about it, but then you start, getting down the game and you start thinking about it. You're like, oh, how did I do that? How did I do it again? And then you start messing up. So I think might be what beginner's luck is.
Yeah. Interesting.
But there's a lot of good takeaways in that book. I definitely have to read it again. It's one of those. Food of the month.
Sourdough tortillas.
Oh, tell me about it.
Cooked some sourdough tortillas this past week, and I'm a fan. I enjoy them a lot. Definitely gonna probably start making burritos for every day of the week now.
Oh yeah, yeah. That sounds. I mean, you could do breakfast burrito. You could do Chipotle burrito. You could do like the burrito bowl. The world's your oyster.
Well, a burrito bowl, I don't think I would have the tortilla.
Well, like sometimes they'll do like the burrito, like they'll put the tortilla at the bottom.
Oh
of the burrito.
yeah.
So that you eat like half the bowl and then you eat the burrito.
Do like bake the tortilla into a bowl and then eat out of it.
Could be dang. Could make some nachos too. My food of the month is also sourdough. So my mom brought me some starter, and I've only made one loaf so far, but she brought me an extra loaf, so I haven't needed to dive in. Sourdough is just so good.
I think I'm gonna try and make my first loaf this weekend, so I'm excited.
Nice. I'm gonna make some sourdough pancakes this weekend with the recipe you and Brenton used.
Yeah.
That overnight.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, sourdough tastes good, pretty easily digested, has a lot of benefits, a lot of nutrients, good source of carbs.
Definitely. Yeah. Do you make any starter pancakes?
I haven't, but I'm going to. Like the discard pancakes.
Yeah.
But the recipe that Brenton has, he said he only did it for like 15 minutes, but you can let it sit in the fridge overnight, the dough. So it's like you're fermenting it as well.
I'm talking about the pancakes of just the discard, no flour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you done those?
Yeah, it's just like, how your starter grows? You just pour that into a pan and cook it instead of like tossing it or whatever. And then I'll put like some green onions and maybe like some slices of jalapeno on there and then flip it, and it's a nice little snack.
How does that taste compared to like a regular pancake?
Sour.
Okay.
Much more sour. Yeah. I would say it's more of a savory pancake than a sweet pancake.
Would you compare that to like a masa pancake?
No, the masa's doesn't have this sour taste to it. This one's like the starter's gonna be very sour, so it has that punch to it.
I also want to try to make my roommates are both gone this weekend, so I don't know what I do, but might make some sourdough chocolate cookies. See if I can get that. I think that could be kind of cool.
Nice, yeah, that'd be good.
Video of the month.
You want to go first on this one?
Sure. Mine is the carrot cure RDV video. For whatever reason, that just absolutely popped off on Instagram. I had like 21,000 views.
Nice.
So that was pretty exciting. I think the Instagram algorithm just likes to pretty much mess with you though. Like when you start an account, they'll intentionally have one video go viral. Because it happened to my Instagram, my fitness account, that you have one video that hits like 10, 11,000. That one hit 21,000, which was crazy. And then you'll go potentially weeks, months without anything. But, just got to keep shooting the shot, keep moving forward. I'm waiting for TikTok to go viral one day. It's also just annoying. It's not like a linear thing. It's just like like exponential growth, and then which is kind of frustrating, but got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was this month. I think it was within the last month. I've been watching Pro Home Chef, I think is the YouTube channel. And he had a couple like snack videos and some sauce videos that really inspired me to start making some sauces and some different kinds of snacks. And we actually started making those energy balls that I shared with you.
Those are so good.
Those things are good. It's basically just like dates, some coconut shavings and some chocolate with just a little bit of honey. And you put those in a food processor and blend them up. And then you can just make them into balls, and it's a good little snack.
What do dates taste like by themselves?
Kind of like a big raisin. It's just like real sweet dried fruit.
I've decided pineapples are my top 5 fruit, I think.
Yeah. I like pineapple too. It's been a long time since I've had a good fresh pineapple though.
So good. Is that the guy that makes sourdough recipes too? The Pro Home Chef dude? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The guy's nice. Getting into cooking is a lot of fun.
There's some things that I don't really like that he does, but almost anything that he cooks, you can make thermo. So there's always a thermo alternative for most of the things that he makes.
I also watched your Joe Rogan witch conspiracy video this morning.
Oh yeah, that was interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea of seeing people as the other and kind of like being seeing somebody as odd and as an outlier is crazy. I mean, that's what they do in the military, right? They teach you to view the enemy as an animal, as someone that is not necessarily human. I mean, because you have to train that way or else you're gonna die. You
ever listen to Jocko? Mm-hmm. He's like, I still get up in the morning because the enemy gets up earlier. He's I love Jocko, but he gets after it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, there's a lot of different conspiracies there that are interesting. I
was also watching the Lex Friedman this morning. Pedro de Amaral Society's recommended it on his story yesterday. This video, I literally couldn't tell you what they're talking about. I've just like so over my head. Like it's one of those things where I could watch it probably 5 times and be like every time, but this kind of makes sense. Talking about how he literally says the guy he has on is basically he studies reality, consciousness, evolutionary theory, and he's a professor at like some UC school or something. And he basically says that his math, like they've done math. It's based on evolution by natural selection, and you can do math apparently on that, like on the genetic polymorphisms that would arise and things that would be beneficial. Math also is just not my specialty. Not a huge fan of it, but I have to get better at it because of that. But he says the probability that our reality is as we see it is 0.
It's a matter of perspective, right? And most truths that you believe are only half truth and are subjective to your experience. So that makes sense.
Well, he said perception is true. So and that's exactly kind of what he just said. Like, this is true to us, what's happening right now, but it's not necessarily true. Like, I guess it's your truth.
Yeah.
Almost.
Like total agreement reality is almost always untrue to the individual.
And he was also saying that like space time is like not possible. It was crazy. I couldn't.
Interesting. I'd be interested in watching that. You should send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's intense. Lex Friedman also smart ass dude.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Activity of the month. You better not steal mine.
All right, you go first then.
I was gonna say the knife training seminar.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. That was very enlightening. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we went to a knife defense seminar on Saturday at our jiu-jitsu gym, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
It was a little bit disheartening that basically what they tell you is like, if you see a knife, you don't even need the seminar, just fucking run. Like, they do not like go anywhere near it, like, because if you get anywhere close to it, you are going to get stabbed. And I don't know if they said the odds of you getting I think once you get stabbed once, it's not looking good.
Right. And you're basically guaranteed to get cut in some form or fashion if you come into contact with somebody with a knife. So avoidance is the best defense always.
Any of the big takeaways you had from that?
Movement.
Yeah.
So making sure that you don't stay in one spot and make yourself an easy target for the enemy to come and attack you. Controlling the hand or limb that has the weapon in it, and being aware that they're going to use their other limbs to try and get you off of that limb. And pretty much the idea of the seminar was like, you're in the worst possible situation that you could be in, and the choices that you make from here are just your best option that will help keep you alive and get out with as minimal damage as possible. Yeah. Although damage will be inevitable.
Yeah, I do feel like a little bit more comfortable if I ever got into the situation. Like I'd have some idea. But what was really eye-opening to me is like the bad habits that I already had. Because like from jiu-jitsu, it's just, I think being a human being, like you grab the knife hand and you don't let go of the knife hand. That's what you do. But just instinctually, I would just try and grab your other hand, or you try like kick someone, or like you don't go. And there was another big takeaway. It's like you're not the aggressor. You don't have the knife. You stay away. You let him come to you pretty much, or you run. So it was just breaking some bad habits that I already had that I wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, 100%. It was interesting. I went up to Michigan and visited my boy Brenton.
Brenton.
I really enjoyed that. It was nice to kind of get away from the city and be in a nice little farm town, and hadn't seen him in a while, so it was nice to visit. And we went hunting a little bit, so that was nice. Just get out early in the morning in nature and get some fresh air. That was nice. We didn't get anything, so no violence for us that weekend, but I still had a good time. Got to see Bruno, his little pit.
The dog.
Yeah, so that was nice. I enjoyed that a lot.
Do you, when you hunt, have you been like really hunting?
Yep.
Do you take, like, what do people do with the organ meats? So people just throw them out generally?
Historically, yeah.
Historically?
Yeah. It depends on whether or not you're field dressing, or if you're going to keep the animal whole and then take it somewhere quickly. You
only have like 15 minutes though or something, right? Before it overheats.
Yeah, you have a very short period before like the bacteria starts to get too active, and it could potentially ruin the meat.
Is it the bacteria, or is it the stomach is so acidic and it's not replacing itself that stuff starts to leak through like the bacteria?
I don't think that'll happen unless you puncture it whenever you're gutting the animal. Like you want to make sure not to puncture the bladder or the stomach, because both of those have stuff in them that can ruin the meat. But yeah, historically, I mean, ideally, especially now that I'm comfortable with organ meats and stuff like that, I would keep the liver and the heart and probably the kidneys.
What about the brain?
The brain's hard to get to because it's hard to get through the skull. So most of the time that's boiled out during the process of, like, if you get a big buck and you want to mount it on the wall or something, then they'll usually boil all of the skin off and the meat that's inside of the head.
How do they get the skin back on?
That's different. That's taxidermy versus like a bear skull mount. The bear skull mount's what I'm talking about, where they boil all of the skin off completely and it's just the bone.
Oh, okay. So what do you think about like the carnivore argument that like we ate a nose to tail diet then?
We probably did, just because like food was a lot more scarce then. It was a lot harder to come by. Like nowadays, if you don't get something while you're hunting, you just go to the store and get something.
Yeah, but I also like don't think like the argument that like the lion literally, if they have a surplus of food, they will literally go kill an animal and just eat the liver. Like there's no way that like we just left the most nutritious parts on the table, is my opinion. But I see like what you're saying in terms of a hunting thing. Like it's just kind of sometimes not feasible to bring everything. But
yeah, I mean the intestines and stuff, but I mean you could get the heart and the liver and the kidneys and stuff and toss it back inside and just get rid of all the waste products that you don't want. Ideally, you could take it to a processor and let them take care of everything.
Would you ever eat tripe? Is intestine, right? Would you ever eat tripe, or have you ever?
I've eaten tripe. Yeah, I've had it in like pho and stuff like that. It's pretty good.
Movement practice of the month.
You want to go first on this one?
Sure. Mine's not great either, but it's just been enjoying longboarding a little bit. I'm looking forward to one day having my car. So I have to park my car not in my house. So like I'll like drive to work, which is like my car is basically at work. I would like to just longboard to and from and then have my car, because I don't know, I just enjoy longboarding. And the way I learned to ride or snowboard goofy has been through longboarding. Goofy helped me a lot. So I'm trying to get pretty nice at longboarding.
I don't really know. That's my struggle of the month. So it's hard to pick something out that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. I'm excited for ski season.
Yeah. I'm excited for ski season too. Got my Icon Pass in a while back.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu's been nice. I always enjoyed jiu-jitsu, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's been like on fire is my favorite thing of the month.
I don't enjoy jiu-jitsu the way I enjoy skiing though.
It's a lot easier for me to kind of like flip into the flow state skiing versus jiu-jitsu. I feel like I'm thinking a lot more versus having the non-thinking state.
I feel like jiu-jitsu is like I'm doing it because I want to get better at this skill, and it's a workout, which is fun, and I enjoy that. But like, I mean, skiing is also skill, and it's also kind of a workout, but it's just like skiing is for me like the act. I mean, I'm a snowboarder, but like the act of snowboarding. It's just like being out in nature. Just like I love just the whole thing.
Yeah, walking. I've done a lot of walking this month, so I've enjoyed that.
And last question, unless you got anything after, but supplement of the month.
Pregnant alone.
Oh yeah. I think that was your supplement last month, but we can run it back.
Was it? I'm still using it.
So it's round 2 in the monthly, weekly review of the month.
Yeah, I'm almost out. So like this is I talked about it whenever I first started using it, and now I'm talking about it at the end.
What's the end result?
Still like it.
How are you doing it topically?
No, I'm doing it sublingually.
So I was listening to Georgie, the podcast we did with Georgie, which will come out in a couple weeks from now. I gotta tell him that that it's gonna come out eventually. But he was saying that if you put it topically, and they have found this for like a number of steroids, I don't know, I think pregnenolone was the one he was really talking about, that they thought that the skin just had a really poor rate of absorption, but it turns out the skin is just using it so much that like very little gets through. So you have to use like a ridiculous amount topically just because the skin will just eat it all up. But you feel pretty good on it. Any takeaways?
I wouldn't be overly consistent with it. I noticed that if I do kind of like the microcycles, so like, 3 to 5 days on, a couple days off, it seems to be more effective than doing it consistently 7 days a week. So that would be a takeaway. Other than that, I mean, pretty much the same benefits. I am kind of interested in, so pregnenolone has a positive feedback loop to where it kind of encourages the creation of itself. I am curious to see whether or not there are some stress response that could occur from that whenever you're supplementing with it, because there have been probably 1 or 2 days out of the month that I've been using it that I've kind of gotten a stress response from using it. And I think that those days are the days that I've gone a little bit too far with it. And that excess pregnenolone, because it's a parent hormone in the steroid cycle, it's getting converted down into the stress hormones versus going over into the protective category. I would also
wonder if, like, let's say you were having a real stressful day, and so instead of, and then you take the pregnenolone, and that caused more of it to be converted into the stress hormones than, when you're relaxed, testosterone, blah, blah, blah.
Definitely. Yeah. 100%.
I do worry about supplementing with hormones. The only one I've ever used, well, I've used a little bit of progesterone, and that's mostly for injuries and stuff, which I highly recommend. It's basically a cheat code. But like when I was doing thyroid, like it was basically like, I mean, you should be measuring everything. You should have an idea of like how long you're going to do it, or if you're going to do it indefinitely, what you're looking for in terms of, you need to be doing some sort of lab basically. And I didn't do this. Like looking back, it was kind of idiotic. Like I was just taking like a quarter pill, like looked a little bit on Danny's website, look at Zach helped me out a little bit. And there's things like pregnenolone is relatively safe. So is progesterone. And even low dose testosterone is relatively safe. A lot of the hormones in low doses are relatively safe. But like when you're doing something like thyroid or really any of them, it's like they could have big consequences if you just, you don't phase them out. You don't wean off them, or, like your thyroid might just shut down. So you might be worse off after supplementing with it than you are.
It's just knowing the feedback loops, knowing your body, and you need to know the science very, very well.
Yeah.
If you're not educated, then definitely work with a professional in order to achieve the desired results that you want.
100%. Don't just wing it. My supplement of the month is boron.
Okay.
I want to start supplementing with boron. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm going to order it today, I think. But it's really good for bone health, which is not why I'm taking it. But it increases free testosterone. I think it increases overall testosterone slightly. And it decreases SHBG. And I feel like it's just something that I'm not getting in my diet.
Yeah. I would make sure that you're doing enough stuff to lower estrogen, because it's going to increase free estrogen as well. So that SHBG, whenever you lower that, it's going to lower both free T and free estrogen.
It's a lot of nicotine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
to.
going to lower the aromatase, but as far as estrogen, maybe making sure that you get in enough vitamin E.
Maybe I'll start doing an actual carrot salad instead of just eating the carrot.
Yeah, the carrot salad. Maybe try and, sweat a lot more just to make sure that you're getting estrogen out in that aspect. Poop frequently. Yeah, that's another one. Just make sure to take measures to really combat that estrogen because it's going to free up some of that as well.
Sounds good. Have you ever supplemented with boron by itself?
Yes. It's been a very long time though.
Do you remember anything?
Not really, honestly. I think it's one of those things that's super subtle. And at the time, I don't think I was aware enough of my body to really realize what was happening.
I also saw something, it may have been in the bones, but I thought it was in the cell that boron helps to retain magnesium in the cell as well. Could just be in the bones, but I thought it was in the cell as well.
Yeah, I mean, it helps with bone density.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about how it works in the cell though.
It's weird because it's just one of those minerals that like no one has any answers for it. But it's like, we know it has certain effects, but we don't really know why.
Yeah.
At least I don't.
Nathan Hatch in his book, Fuck Portion Control. That's the name of the book. Excuse my French. He talks a lot about boron and selenium. So I would check out his book.
Do you have that?
I think so. I can airdrop it to you. I have the digital version of it.
Sweet. Well, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want us to add anything to our weekly topic of the month, monthly review, let us know. And until next time, be good.
Peace.